Dragutin Dimitrijević was born in 1876 in Belgrade, Serbia. Dimitrijević was nicknamed Apis after the bull deity of Egyptian mythology. This nickname originated from his imposing physique and dynamic energy. His father died when Apis was a child. His much older sister Jelena supported the family by working as a teacher. The family moved from town to town following her teaching positions. Jelena married a wealthy politician and historian Ivan Živanović. Afterwards, the family returned to Belgrade. Apis never expressed a wish to marry or to have children. He focused on his sister Jelena's family. We know much about Apis thanks to his letters to Jelena and her children. Apis entered the military academy only because his best friend did. It's interesting to imagine what the world would be like if Apis' best friend had chosen a different profession. His superiors praised Apis as an exemplary and disciplined officer. They described him as very sociable and always surrounded by friends. Apis lacked personal ambition and was dedicated to national interests. Serbian historian Stanoje Stanojević described him negatively as a restless spirit full of desire for adventure. In 1893, King Aleksandar Obrenović dissolved the assembly. Apis' brother-in-law was the assembly's president at the time. Some believe that Apis' animosity toward King Aleksandar Obrenović originated from this incident. Apis was promoted to infantry lieutenant. In 1901, King Alexander married his mistress Draga. Many believed that Queen Draga did not deserve her position. Queen Draga's false pregnancy caused an international scandal. Serbian officers felt that Serbia had been humiliated by the royal couple. Furthermore, the army was irregularly paid. They decided to form a secret society. Initially, they wanted to expel the king and queen. Apis himself supported the Karađorđević dynasty. The Karađorđević and Obrenović families had been rivals for 80 years. King Alexander and Queen Draga were the last members of the Obrenović family. The conspirators decided to assassinate the Obrenović royal couple. They did not want a military regime. Their plan was to transfer power to Petar Karađorđević immediately. The conspirators feared that prolonged unrest could provoke Habsburg military intervention. Major problems between Serbia and Austria-Hungary only began after the royal assassinations of 1903. Some historians believe that the avalanche toward WW1 began with the assassination of the last Obrenovićs. The night of 28-29 May 1903 was chosen for the attack. This is known in Serbian history as the May coup d'etat. Apis was shot 3 times and seriously wounded by the palace guards. One bullet struck Apis in the center of his chest, passing just above his heart. Apis refused to let his friends take him to the hospital. He sat in the hallway with a revolver in his hand. He was ready to take his own life if the conspiracy failed. Apis claimed that the couple in the palace had to die so that Serbia could live. He never apologized or expressed regret for his involvement in the 1903 assassinations. In fact, Apis and his friends held a party every 29th May. Following the assassinations, a national unity cabinet was formed. European governments demanded the execution of the assassins. The British refused to recognize the new regime. The new King Petar believed that punishing the assassins would provoke a civil war. The prominent politician Nikola Pašić wanted the conspirators to be retired or sent to regiments in the interior. Apis retained his post in Belgrade. Apis spent the years 1905-1906 studying in Germany. He attended military maneuvers and mastered the German language. A conspiracy theory claims that Apis began working for German secret intelligence. Apis' political ideas remained obscure and ill-defined. Apis was assigned to accompany Prince George, the heir to the throne, on his European tour. Apis and Prince George became friends. Prince George was suspected of murdering one of his servants. He lost his position as heir to the throne. His brother Prince Alexander replaced him. Despite his friendship with Prince George, Apis supported Prince Alexander. In 1908, Austria-Hungary proclaimed the annexation of Bosnia. They had occupied Bosnia since 1878, but formally Bosnia remained part of the Ottoman Empire. At that time, Serbs comprised 43% of Bosnia's population. They formed nationalist and revolutionary organizations to fight the annexation. Apis and his friends then focused on the unification of Serbs. In 1911, the secret organization Unification or Death, nicknamed the Black Hand, was formed. It is unclear how they got this nickname. One theory suggests it was coined by an Austrian journalist. It is debatable whether Apis was behind the formation of the Black Hand. Apis himself claimed to have joined the organization after it was formed. Apis was never elected leader of the Black Hand. He became its leader due to his charisma and commanding personality. Members of the Black Hand were described very contradictory as monarchists, republicans, revolutionaries, militarists, and even proto-fascists. The initiation of members involved a ceremony in a darkened room. A hooded leader administered an oath. This practice was probably inspired by Freemasonry. According to Apis, the Black Hand was intended to become a popular mass organization. The Balkan Wars 1912-1913 prevented it. The Black Hand remained a secret organization composed mainly of army officers. Croat Oskar Tartaglia described Apis as the Garibaldi and Mazzini of Yugoslav liberation and unification. The Black Hand had its own newspaper called Piemont. Piemont was a small Italian state around which all of Italy united. Prince Alexander gave money donations to the Piemont newspapers. This raises question how much Prince Alexander was involved with the Black Hand. King Peter was old and chronically ill. Prince Alexander acquired power even before inheriting the throne. Apis said that Prince Alexander sought flattery and that he, Apis, was not a flatterer. But Colonel Petar Živković was. He became Apis' main rival. The White Hand was formed in opposition to the Black Hand. The members of the White Hand were all former friends of Apis. They accused the Black Hand of subversion, disloyalty to the dynasty, and sowing discord in the army. Apis became chief of staff of the cavalry division. He began teaching strategy at the military academy. Apis did not participate in the Balkan Wars 1912-1913. He worked in preparation for the wars. Apis secretly met with Albanian leader Isa Boljetinac to secure his cooperation. Isa refused to help Serbs against the Ottomans. Apis contracted Maltese fever, a rare form of blood poisoning. He got it from consuming unpasteurized milk. Some conspiracy theories claim that Albanians deliberately gave him poisoned milk. Only 1 in 1,000 patients recovered from this disease. Apis remained unconscious for more than 3 weeks. His recovery was long and slow. He was unable to walk for months. Apis traveled to Berlin, Germany, on convalescent leave. He remained there for 4 months. According to unverified claims, Germans donated a printing press to the magazine Piemont. Pro-German articles appeared in Piemont claiming that the German army had played a vital role in the regeneration of the German nation. It is worth noting that Serbia and Germany had good relations before World War I. Germany aided Serbia in the tariff war against Austria-Hungary. Being pro-German did not mean being disloyal to Serbia. Many members of the Black Hand died in the Balkan Wars. One conspiracy theory claims they were deliberately sacrificed. They were sent on the most dangerous missions. The Karađorđević dynasty needed to get rid of them. Members of Apis' own family died in the Balkan Wars. He encouraged his nephew Alexander to enlist as a volunteer despite his young age. Young Alexander died on the first day of the war. The husband of Apis' niece died at the Battle of Kumanovo. In 1913, Apis was promoted to lieutenant colonel. He was appointed head of military intelligence. Apis controlled a network of agents within Austria-Hungary. The spies often swam across the Drina River. Civilian Rade Malobabic became one of Apis' main agents. Serbia got Macedonia in the Balkan Wars. Pashic supported civilian administration in Macedonia, while the Black Hand wanted a military government. In April 1914, Pashic issued the Decree of Priority regarding governance in Macedonia. A political crisis erupted over this issue in May 1914. Opposition leaders backed the officers. Subsequently, Apis was accused of plotting a military takeover in May 1914. Prime Minister Pashic and Prince Alexander emerged victorious from this crisis. Before War I, relations between Apis and the Serbian government were far from idyllic. On 28 June 1914, the heir to Habsburg throne, Franz Ferdinand, was murdered in Sarajevo, Bosnia by Gavrilo Princip. Yugoslav historiography believed that the organization Young Bosnia was behind the assassination. Young Bosnia was an ethnically diverse group of Bosnian students who sought the unification of the South Slavs. Yugoslav historians believed that Young Bosnia received minimal support from the Black Hand. Malobabic brought weapons for the assassins to Bosnia. Foreign historians often attribute the assassination to Apis and the Black Hand. Franz Ferdinand's son, Max, believed that the German secret police had collaborated in preparing the assassination. If this is true, then Apis would have been working for the Germans. Serbian authorities arrested Malobabic. He spent a year in a Serbian prison where he was tortured. Apis was unaware of Malobabic's whereabouts. Apis rescued him as soon as he learned he was imprisoned. Apis' entire intelligence network within the Habsburg Empire disintegrated. In March 1915, Apis was removed from the High Command. He was appointed Chief of Staff of the Užice army, which consisted of only 2 brigades. This was seen as an insult to him. Subsequently, he became Chief of Staff of the newly formed Timok army. The Timok army fought against Bulgarians. Apis was the last Serbian officer to evacuate to Corfu in February 1916. In September 1916, someone supposedly shot at Prince Alexander. Malobabic was accused of being the shooter working for Apis. Apis was arrested in December 1916. He denied any intention of killing Prince Alexander or Prime Minister Pashic. The Salonika trial was a special military tribunal. Apis was held in a solitary confinement for 3 months. The trial lasted 2 months, March-May 1917. There were 10 defendants. Most of the defendants testified that they had acted under Apis' influence or leadership. The prosecution called 102 witnesses, and the defense was not allowed to present any. At his trial, Apis claimed that the Black Hand was a patriotic organization operating outside of Serbia. He said that the Black Hand disbanded once Serbia entered the First Balkan War in 1912. Initially, most of the defendants received the death penalties, but all but 3 sentences were later commuted. Apis expected to be exonerated. He said the unification of the Serbs will be very costly, but at least they will be united. In the Allied countries, reactions to the Salonika trial were mostly unfavorable. Foreign politicians were concerned that the trial would influence the performance of the Serbian army. It could cause division within the military. Apis provided a written admission of responsibility for the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in exchange for a promise of clemency. Apis was executed in June 1917. Rade Malobabic and Major Ljubomir Vulovic were also executed. Apis was buried in an unmarked grave.
Apis' death sentence is often described as a judicial murder. Apis' family and supporters began efforts to overturn the Salonika verdict and clear his name. In 1953, communist regime organized a retrial and Apis was exonerated. What do I think? The Salonika trial was unfair and the communists were right to demand a retrial. Apis and his friends should have been executed for what they did in 1903. Every Serb has heard of Apis, but the general public doesn't know much about him as a person. Apis is not considered a national hero.